bahasa Inggris. Bagi yang memerlukan penerjemahan, silakan untuk menghubungi panitia. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your presence today at the ILO Forum on Artificial Intelligence and Non-Discrimination in the Indonesian Labor Market. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Coordinating Minister for Human and Cultural Development, Bapak Pratikno. It is truly an honor, Pak, to have you here with us today. Big applause for Bapak Pratikno. I would also welcome to all participants, to distinguished panelists and all participants' commentary that today we hope that you will enjoy the discussions in a very bright theater today, a different stage from the other AI forum that ILO has organized, and you will have a valuable insight and throughout today's forum. I am Luciani Julia.
And my name is Anis Muhammad, who both will moderate the session today. The ILO is convening this forum today to foster a meaningful dialogue among governments, employers, workers, organizations, civil society, the private sectors, and AI experts. Our aim is to examine the potential of artificial intelligence to reduce, or if misused, exacerbate inequality and discrimination in the workplace. Together, we will explore how AI can be leveraged to detect bias, support fair decision-making, and ultimately promote greater inclusivity and equality for all workers. To begin with, we would like to invite Ibu Simrin Singh, ILO Country Directors for Indonesia and Timor-Leste, to deliver the opening remark. The floor is yours, Bu.
Selamat siang. I get the red carpet treatment. Honorable Minister Pratikno, thank you so much for joining us today. And I think it's really meaningful given your role of human development as to how important this conversation is, and your presence really means a lot. So terima kasih for joining us. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished panelists coming from very diverse groups as well, from Astra, from advocates, lawyer, and from private sector, human resource development. And it wouldn't be the ILO also if we didn't have a commentary from a representative with a view coming from workers and a representative with a view coming from employers. So that's a rough sketch of the main speakers today, but I also want to acknowledge the presence of our other ministries here. Thank you from the Ministry of Manpower, from CMEA, Bapenas that are here, and I think a few others, perhaps Foreign Affairs. I have my dear UN colleagues here from UN Women, UN Global Pulse, and our constituents from Apindo, Kadin, and also workers' organizations, several of them, and many, many more. So let me just start by saying that this is the 5th of a series that the ILO Country Office has been undertaking. And this each one has had a different, what we call a deep dive into the world of work. And the reason why we started to do this last year, this is the 5th deep dive, was that we felt that, and we know that most conversations around AI is about the technology or the investment. Right now we're talking about the bubble, right? The AI bubble is going to burst, and what's that going to mean? But no one, or very few people, were really talking about what is the intersectionality between AI and how it affects the human people, human beings, the women and the men, those with disabilities, those from underprivileged areas. All of those dimensions were not really a topic of conversation, right? So the ILO thought, well, what better? We know the world of work actors in each country in the world, and that we should seize this opportunity to convene, even if we don't have, the absolute science and the absolute answers to everything, because no one does anymore. We can't. You know how fast AI is moving. No one has. It's a constantly evolving space. But we thought that it would be really important, instead of waiting for a research report that is then obsolete by the time it comes out, that we convene those very world of work actors from different perspectives to share their views and also to get to know each other and create common solutions to what could be preventable problems when technology does not do the things right, when it comes to human beings and working conditions. But what technology can do right in terms of fostering greater productivity, more efficiency, and eliminating things like discrimination, which is what we're going to talk about. The first of our series talked about employment, labor market implications, a very general macro look. The second one looked a bit deeper into what are the implications on MSMEs. And we know in Indonesia, over 98% of enterprises are micro, small, medium. So we did a deep dive into that. The third one was looking at agriculture as a sector, because it still employs more than 40% of the workforce and is not always the highest paying. The fourth one focused on an area that is growing, which is on occupational safety and health. How can we harness the potential of AI to do better in terms of worker safety and health? So today, ladies and gentlemen, Pa Mantri, we are here to discuss discrimination, which is not an easy topic, because there's a lot of baggage from the past that has not been solved when it comes to issues of discrimination, whether you're a woman, man, etc., or person with a disability. So you have the baggage from the past that was not necessarily fully resolved, and then you have this AI thing that's happening around. And the question then becomes, can we in Indonesia, can we as world of work actors actually grasp what could be the implications, not yet the impact, but what could be the implications of this type of technology, and how can we actually use it for positivity for a really human-centered approach to economic development, to whatever, and well-being for all people, leaving no one behind. So like I said, we have a very good, talented, incredible, diverse panel of discussions. Of course, we will be inspired by Pa Mantri's speech at the very beginning. And I'm happy that one of our dearest colleagues in ILO Geneva, one of the topmost research people that has been deep diving himself into the research of what this means on discrimination-related elements from around the world, will give us a good context on which to base our discussion today. It's a short and sweet program. We know everyone's time is precious, so we hope that we do meet your expectations, people here, so that you get what you need. Instead of sitting for 2 days trying to get what you need, let's hope the 2 hours you can get what you need, and that it will motivate you to move forward. ILO will continue in this domain, digitalization and AI, as it interfaces with the world of work, the opportunities it can create, and we will continue to do so in the times ahead. Together we can do it. So thank you very much again, and all the best, and please stick around if you can. Apparently since we're in a movie theater, we're going to be watching a movie, which we weren't sure we could watch because we had to get special permission from the United States movie industry that has copyright privileges. So, we have to make sure intellectual property rights are respected and things like that. We did get the permission late last night, so we will be airing, it's not a very long one, I think about 35-minute one that's quite mind-stimulating about positive and negative implications of AI and discrimination, especially for women. So with that, thank you so much, and let us proceed on this deep dive discussion. Thank you.
Iya. We are now like to invite Bapak Pratikno, Coordinating Minister of Human and Cultural Development, to deliver keynote speech. Bapak, kami persilakan.
That's the first time I become a film star. Yang saya hormati, I have to look at my note. Yang saya hormati Ibu Simrin Singh, the ILO Country Director for Indonesia and Timor-Leste, and Pak Diego Ray, Employment and Labor Market Specialist. I told him that my third son-in-law is Diego as well. And he took it from Portuguese, no, from Jogja. Indonesian is very creative in giving name, you know. Yes. Ms. Melissa Go, representative of Government of Canada, and Pak Pavel Kimek, Research Department of ILO, you know. Bu Mariska Tambunan, Pak Kun, many others, Pak Yunus, Pak Zaki, Pak Doni, and all the colleagues from many institutions, from government, ILO, UN agencies, workers group, employers, academia, youth leaders, and all the participants in this meeting. Thank you so much, Ibu, for giving me opportunity. And I told I'm not only felt that I'm invited, but I felt that I hijacking your forum because this for free for me to share what we are thinking. So let me introduce first about the my coordinating ministry, the coordinating ministry for human development and culture. So we responsible coordinating the how many now 9 ministries, the Ministry of Health, and then education, primary education, higher education, and science techs, and then the culture, woman empowerment and children protection, youth and sport, Ministry of Demography and Family Development, and how many else? The Ministry of Hajj as well. So I was appointed to become the minister 1 year ago, on October, and we have 5 deputies. First deputy for the woman empowerment, child protection, and family, and then second deputy on health, third deputy on education, and then fourth on character building, and then fifth for the disaster management. So historically, this ministry didn't have a close connection with the issues of digital and AI. But since beginning, I realized that the digitalization and artificial intelligence has been disrupting all the issues we are responsible on. For instance, on child, disrupted by digitalization and AI. So we concern about the screen time of Indonesian is more than 7 hours, 7.5 hours average. Even the children under 2 years old has been exposed with the screen time more than two hours a day. So the gadget has become a new babysitter. So the becoming passive listener, passive watcher can be, produce or have an impact on the cognitive depth of our children. So we campaigning how we can provide more screen time rather than screen time. So we also, concern about the parenting issues and so on, to include in education as well. So we are still struggling how we can regulate in ethics and governance the use of AI for our children. So, and so on. The health issues, the mental health is our serious problem as well. So including in the workplace. So we have to be more concerned, especially in Jakarta. Jakarta is highest, according the free health check report, that the highest numbers of depression and anxiety are in Jakarta. Is more than 5% of the of those who have done the health check, and unfortunately the second highest in Yogyakarta, my hometown. I think it's because of the so many young people. So this is our concern as well. So since at the beginning we are very concerned with the AI. So that's why then we established the national a task force, AI task force in my ministry. The responsible of the how we can use the AI smartly and wisely. Okay, I don't know. I'm not connected with the presentation, so don't worry. So the I totally agree with Ibu that the AI is not just technical. The AI is not just economic. The AI is deeply human. Several months ago, I was invited by the UNDP to share my opinion about the expansion of AI in Indonesia. And the my argument was that every technology have strong potential for widening the gap, because those who use technology, especially the advanced technology and especially the artificial intelligence, can easily multiply their productivity, while those who are left behind are the cannot increase their productivity. That's why then widening the gap between those who have, those who use technology, and those who are not. So especially for the informal sector, for instance, if you look at Indonesia, thank you for the International Labour Organization always reminded us that the maybe 25% jobs is exposed to transformation by the generative AI. And in Indonesia, our unemployment still in the latest data is 4.85%, the unemployment. But in the non-agriculture sector, informal employment among low-educated workers reaches more than 60%. So that's really disrupted by artificial intelligence, and they are not small numbers, and these are real risks that we have to manage and we have to anticipate. We know that AI promises efficiency. That's why I illustrate AI as the airplane, the jet. Well, you show me the jet, the jet over there. Of course, if Indonesian want to do pilgrimage to Makkah, for instance, if they are afraid not using airplane, I don't know how many months will be reached there. What I'm trying to say is that we almost have no option rather to adopt. Of course, we know that artificial intelligence will replace people, but the people who use artificial intelligence will replace who do not use the artificial intelligence. So that's why we, from beginning for almost 1 year, we have published a book, collaboration with the Gramedia. The title is Cerdas, Bijak dan Cerdas ber-AI. Bijak dan Cerdas ber-AI. We just published a book, Be Wise and Be Smart in using artificial intelligence. Again, for us, is artificial intelligence for humanity, So, what is next? And inspired by the policy of the Indian government, so our framework is how we design AI for all. It means that all Indonesians should be wise and smart in using artificial intelligence. Means the critical thinking, means computational thinking, means check and recheck, and so on. So be wise. So that's we collaborate with the several ministries working on that, and of course we need your support as well. But at the same time, at what we call AI for many. So we use the AI for increasing the productivity of those who are left behind and supporting the economically low middle level, the farmers, the fishermen, and so on. So means that we have to be creative. That's why, for instance, in our ministry, we collaborate with several global platform as well. Last month, we have a month of innovation in AI among our bureaucrats. So for the whole month, supported by many institutions, including Microsoft, provide us free for the Microsoft 365 and also the Copilot and so on. So we expose our staff with AI to increase their productivity. It means have more time for life balance, because living in Jakarta is very stressful. Spend a lot of time on the road, because if they have a kid, before their kid wake up, their dad is gone already. When the kids went to sleep, the dad has not arrived yet. So this the danger for the family as well. Maybe some kid forget about their dad. Maybe calling her dad or his dad uncle rather than dad, because never met. So that's why we promote the use of AI for increasing the productivity of our staff. For the whole month, we have provided mentoring and we just give some award, for those our bureaucrats who are able to innovate and create for increasing their productivity. But also, many times in many forums, we try to encourage also the support of many, engineer, innovator for giving, AI for those who are vulnerable, for those who are disabled, farmers, workers, providing services, health and education services at the remote region, and so on and so on. So our principle in our ministry, one side, we have to develop the manpower, human power who are globally competitive. But at the same time, we have to avoid we have to be inclusive. We have to be inclusive so that no one left behind. Because Indonesia is very, I still, sometimes I make a joke. Some young people in Jakarta is in this 22nd century already, because they are, very innovative, globally competitive. But at the same time, in the very remote region, in the very remote village, in the small island, limited access to education, limited access to health, limited access to information, will be left behind if we do not give the priority to them. So that's why so we supported the gifted and the talent to be globally competitive. Yes, the government, established what the president called SMA Garuda. The excellent Garuda Excellence Senior High School to be globally competitive. But at the same time, the government also established Sekolah Rakyat, the boarding school for very poor kids from the very poor family. So globally competitive and no one left behind. The two mission that we have to do together. But we do hope that AI will help us for doing the two mission together. So that globally competitive will have the positive impact for those on the lower level. So that's why it do expected the Indonesian development in the area of AI will be more inclusive, more just, and more equitable, and sustainable, of course. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, we do know that AI is not neutral. Several months ago, I've discussed with the Minister of Religion, with the head of the Muhammadiyah, also with the head of the Nahdlatul Ulama. We talk about the AI for religion, for instance, that how we train the AI using our data, the data of Indonesian Muslim who are tolerant, who are inclusive, Islam which can hand to hand, we work together with democracy and development. So we talk about AI for religion. And also with the Ministry of Culture, we talk about AI for culture. Because if we look at the AI globally, these two pillars has not been the concern globally, AI for religion and AI for culture. And the two pillars, religion and culture, is the strength of Indonesia and can be the biggest contribution of Indonesia to the world, for the peaceful and for the just and for the tolerant world. So back on the issues of workplace that the ILO concern on. We are developing what we call National Integrated Development Dashboard. National Integrated Development Dashboard. Why we are developing that? Because Indonesian government have so many institutions. For instance, if we are dealing with the stunting, reducing the stunting prevalence, the government budget allocation are given to the 22 ministries and institutions. So one of the big challenges is orchestrating the more than 20 institutions intervene the problem precisely. Otherwise, they are doing the same thing at the same issues at the same area, and other area are neglecting, other group are neglecting. So we call it the precision policy. So a National Integrated Human Development Dashboard is a tool supported by AI, tools for us to orchestrate Oscar said. In this integrated national dashboard, there are some sub issues. Again, I mentioned about stunting. It's because if we were talking about human development, and now we are on the demographic partners, then if 1/5 Indonesian children are stunted, there will be serious problem in the future, because stunting is not just it's about not just about how tall. Maybe I'm included one, the stunted one. I said not about the tall, but about the IQ, about the how smart our future workforce in the future. The stunting is our serious problem. Secondly, that's important as well about the reducing the case of tuberculosis, the TB. TB is the problem. We have the medicine already. We have the tool of screening in the puskesmas every kecamatan in Indonesia. So every sub-district there's a screening. So actually, it's not the issues of technology or medicine, but the most crucial issue is stigma. The most crucial issue, including stigma at the workplace, because people avoid, to be screened because they are afraid if once the labeled as a TB, then they will be worried. They will be, hired from the workplace. So this is a crucial issue for us, again, for the productivity of the nation. And then also, last week, we just agreed with the, I haven't met with the Apindo, we just agreed with the Kadin. Kadin, together with us, is launching the, what do you call it, the plan, something about the vocational education and training. The, I forgot the name of the book, white paper or what? No, not white paper. I forgot the blue. Ada, yeah. But we have agreed with the Kadin first to establish joint task force together. So we are responsible coordinating all the ministries related to the issues of vocational education and training. But then we have to serve the demand from the private sector. So we just agreed to develop a joint task force, and also together to develop a joint dashboard on vocational education and training. So that's we can increase the job matching between the job market and the training and education on vocational. So Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, we do hope that we can work together for increasing the quality of our people, make the AI work for humanity, closing the gap, helping, giving the priority for the vulnerable, for the poor, for the disabled, for those who are left behind. So that one side we can increase our productivity, another side for the global competitiveness, but another side we have to ensure more and more inclusive, so no one left behind. So again, in my office, we are very concerned about artificial intelligence for humanity. I have given a strong message when together with UNDP, and when UNDP publish, national AI for humanity, something like that. Yeah, last year, this year. Yeah, and we have a task force for the artificial intelligence. So let's work together. I'm more than ready then if ILO invite us to have a joint task force for this. Yeah. So terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian. Thank you for helping us in taking the responsibility of human development. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu sekalian, ILO, other UN agencies, Apindo, Kadin, perusahaan-perusahaan, teman-teman dari aktivis perburuan ketenaga kerjaan. Terima kasih. Saya kira itu saja Ibu. Do you speak Indonesian already?
Masih PR, Pak.
Sampai PR ya. Terima kasih Ibu ya. Terima kasih.
Iya, mari kita.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak
Selamat malam,
Pratikno. Please remain in the front, Pak. And we would like to invite Ibu Simrin Singh to give the token of appreciation to Pak Pratikno and take photos from this red carpet.
So,
Iya,
Do you have?
kita akan ambil foto bersama terlebih dahulu, Ibu Simrin dan Pak Pratikno. Yes, in the middle.
so we have shared the carpet.
Red carpet together. Mbak Ika boleh dikasih ke Ibu? Baik, silakan fotografer untuk mengabadikan.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak. Selanjutnya boleh foto Oke, masih ada satu lagi mungkin Pak boleh dipegang. Silakan diabadikan kembali. Baik. Baik, kita akan mengambil foto bersama dengan para peserta. Untuk Ibu Simrin dan Bapak Pratikno, kami persilakan untuk kembali ke tempat dan kita akan mengambil foto dari sana. Terima kasih banyak Bapak.
Bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu, kita akan berfoto bersama dengan Bu Simrin dan Pak Pratikno. Mohon berdiri semua. Kita akan ambil fotonya dari sini supaya nanti kelihatan, Pak. Spotlight mungkin harus mati dulu ya supaya tidak backlight. Ya, terima kasih. Enggak Pak, cukup Pak kayaknya Pak. Ya, saya ikut. Tunggu ya.
Moderator mau ikutan. Baik, kita boleh ambil aba-aba. 1, 2, 3. Boleh ambil posisi, berikan senyum terbaik. Gayanya gaya formil dulu ya. 1, 2, 3. Selanjutnya boleh Bapak dan Ibu untuk mengangkat tangannya, kasih high five. Kita akan bilang stop diskriminasi. Baik, silakan. 1, 2, 3.
Stop diskriminasi.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Bapak
Terima
dan Ibu
kasih.
sekalian.
Kita kasih aplaus sekali lagi untuk Ibu Simrin dan Pak Pratikno yang sudah membuka acara kita pada siang hari ini.
So once again, thank you Bapak Pratikno for your inspiring and insightful remarks, which have set a strong foundations for today's discussion, and we have a JET as a meaning of AI and non-discriminations. Okay, we will now move to our next speaker, Mr. Pavel Gmirek, senior researcher at the ILO in Geneva, who will joining us online for today.
Yeah. Can we have Pavel online now? Yeah.
Good morning.
Hello, Pavel. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
And we hear you well as well. Can you say hi? You are online now for the big screen
You
and also on YouTube. So Okay, the screen is yours,
Hello,
Pavel.
everyone.
Please go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I will actually share my screen so that I can show you some slides. And I would just ask you to confirm once it's visible at your end.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, once again, thank you for inviting me. I'm part of the team here at the ILO that's working on understanding a little bit the effects of AI on the world of work and doing quite a few publications around it. And the work I will talk about today will try to set the context around inequality and discrimination and potential effects of this technology on the world of work in that context. And it's based on the work we've done here at the ILO, but also our cooperation with a range of partnering institutions, including the World Bank, with whom I'm actually currently working on the background papers for the World Development Report, which will come out next year and will be on AI. So starting with why we're all talking about AI so much. This is from the from one of the global reports, the index report from last year, where researchers tried to map the abilities of AI in different domains versus the human baseline, so human ability in that domain. And as you can see, when we come to language classification, basic level reading, English language understanding, and so on, you can see these lines, either a baseline or crossing it. And when you come here from 2021, you can even see competition levels, so multitask language understanding rising really quickly and basically crossing this line by now. So you could think to yourself, if a machine can do competition level, what is there for humans left to do? And that's very often how these potential impacts of these technologies are presented to us. And in order to understand what is there to do and what we have to see and unpack what humans actually do at work and match it with what machines are doing, and how relevant competition level mathematics or multitask language understanding is to majority of jobs and things that people do when they wake up every morning and go to work. And what think about the key images of how technology interacts with occupations. You can see here the famous job of switchboard operators, many of whom were women in the 1950s and 60s. And that was a job that was necessary to make a phone call. You essentially needed to connect two sockets with a cable. And suddenly technology appeared that was able to do that. And that was such a core task for this job that when this technology automated it, this job basically disappeared quite quickly altogether. At the bottom right corner, you have a bank teller. And this story is from the 90s, essentially, when internet appeared and ATMs appeared. And everyone said, well, that's exactly the story of switchboard operators. At the time, bank tellers used to deal with physical money, and everyone thought that now having ATMs, having internet, basically will make it possible to automate this job entirely. That's not what happened. The job of bank tellers evolved. It removed certain tasks that were given to that technology, but other tasks emerged, and due actually to this technologies, and due to specialization and the lower cost of accessing technology, it became possible to create more branches, and the demand for bank tellers increased in many countries. It's just that the job of a bank teller is no longer the same today as what it was in the 1990s. And finally, we have the two gentlemen here who are in their job of airplane pilots, where we look more at the kind of a job or a situation where in many cases you could theoretically maybe replace humans at work, but it's a conscious decision to keep a human in command. And that's a very important aspect to think about when we think about these modern digital technologies and their impact on jobs. And something to keep in mind here is this little plot, is that when you automate tasks at work, you can essentially do two things. You can automate tasks that workers perform, but you can also automate tasks that managers perform. And both will have effects on the quantity of jobs, which is usually what we discuss, but also they change the quality of jobs. And that is an important aspect that's often neglected, and I'll try to come back to that. So going from that, how do we do it to understand what generative AI can do to jobs and what kind of effects it can have on different groups of people and where it could discriminate? This is how we imagine jobs when we think about them as bundles of tasks. You can see it's a hierarchical structure that we use for statistical purposes. So you have general keyboard clerks here on the left, and they break down into more of sort of clerical jobs, eventually into really detailed secretarial jobs, and these have tasks assigned to them. And in this top group, you can see that we assign highest scores, which represent the potential of automating a given task with generative AI technologies. So with those latest AI assistants. And you can see that the highest potential of automation has screening requests for meetings and appointments or helping to organize meetings. But there's a lot of dealing with documents and paper and kind of administrative tasks that get a relatively high score because these technologies are quite good at it. And at the bottom, you have the opposite group. You have people like firefighters, police officers, or prison guards. And you can imagine that the tasks of a prison guard are not very compatible with what ChatGPT and other assistants can do. And that wouldn't be a great success to put one of those in charge of prisons. So by doing that for all occupations that exist in an economy and then around the world, you can understand a little bit better what might happen. And we created an index at the ILO, which basically these are all the occupations that we recognize, 436 occupational groupings. And as you move from the left to the right on this index, so from the gray dots here to the red dots, you increase your exposure to AI. What does it mean you increase your exposure? It means you are having more and more tasks, especially in those red dots, that potentially can be automated with this technology. Think about in the red dots about a job of a translator or a text editor versus in the yellow dots of a job of a nurse. The nurse's presence physically is required for most of the tasks, but they also have some administrative or text-related tasks where this technology could automate them and give them more time. A text editor has a lot of tasks where this technology, in theory, can compete with human expertise. So once we've established which jobs are exposed to this, how do we know who's affected? Well, we can calculate, I'll skip one slide, but we can calculate at the ILO, we receive statistics from over 160 countries, and very often in very great detail and with great frequency. So we can build these global models and see who's working in these jobs. And when you look here on the top facet, you can see the world exposure. These are jobs that are in those gradients from 1 to 4, which we consider somewhat exposed. But when you think about the colors in these plots, think about the blue bars representing people whose jobs could be more transformed. So some tasks would go away, giving more time for these core tasks like the nurse I mentioned. When you look at orange and red bars, think about these jobs that could be more at the risk of automation. And you can see we estimated about a quarter of total employment around the world is exposed to some effects, but that these blue bars are bigger than the red bar, for example. So the people whose jobs could be productively transformed are many more than those who could be outright automated. You can already see at the global level that when it comes to male and female employment, there is a big discrepancy. But when we move to high income countries, the second facet, you can see that discrepancy very clearly. Meaning in the male employment, these red bars are smaller. That's about 3.5% of jobs that are exposed to the risk of automation, whereas the overexposure of females is much higher, 41% of today's employment, and the group that's exposed to the potential risks of automation is 3 times larger than the males. So we have a clear situation where the effects of this technology, the negative effects, could be quite discriminatory against female employment. We also see a second trend here, which is when you move from high income to low income countries, basically you decrease exposure. And that's in some way good news for lower income countries, because if you look at the lowest income bracket, you can see that it's those jobs that are more related to the risk of automation that decrease, because there are simply fewer such jobs in those economies, but the blue bars remain, which means technically or potentially you have many more people in jobs in lower income countries who are in a position of benefiting from this technology than people at the risk of outright automation. But there are certain occupations in lower income countries, typically business process outsourcing jobs or call center related jobs, where we think people in relatively good jobs are at a higher risk of exposure. So what do we mean about this transformational augmentation? How does it work? I can actually give you an example from research that we have done with the University of Maastricht and Universitas Indonesia with the Faculty of Medicine. It's a paper that has already come out as a pre-draft, as an early draft, and it will come out as a working paper of the ILO. It's an experiment, controlled experiment in 3 countries. We had Indonesia, Kenya, and the Netherlands. And we basically have a lab-like setting where physicians, so doctors, are exposed to different conditions that they have to recognize. And we test the accuracy of their diagnosis, for some of them not having access to AI assistance and others having access to AI assistance. So on the left, you can see for each country, those people who did not have access. And on the right, you can see the people who were able to use AI. And you can see that basically across all countries, people who had access to an AI assistant increased the accuracy of their diagnosis. What does it mean? Does it mean we're saying it will automate doctors away? Not at all. But we are saying it has 2 effects. First of all, it boosts performance. It can also speed it up if used correctly. But also it equalizes more the accuracy of diagnosis between lower income and high income country settings when we take an experiment like that. So we see that there are opportunities, and that's what we call an augmentation, whereas it's very hard to imagine that you simply, we would think about automating the doctors away. So we will have the results of that paper published. Actually, they are available online, and you can circulate it after presentation. Now, let me spend some more time on the questions of digital divide and how this can have an effect for countries in different income brackets. So we asked that question in a publication I did with the World Bank last year, and we've now expanded that for this World Development Report. This is the case of Latin America, but we can now see the same relationship in the global picture. In the top facet, we took the jobs that are at the risk of being automated. Like I mentioned, call center workers, for example. And we said maybe there is a chance that there's a digital divide. People don't have that much access to a computer or internet at work, so they could be protected. Well, that's not the case. In lower income countries in Latin America, you can see this orange bar representing people who have a computer and internet at work. And basically, majority of the people who are in this category of being at the risk of being automated already use a computer and risk at work. So there is no protection from the digital divide because those people in jobs who are at the risk of being automated are already digitized. However, when we look at the people who are in the bracket of potential augmentation, we saw that up to half of these people currently in those jobs do not report using a computer or internet at work, which is kind of a hard condition precondition to be even able to benefit from this technology through these augmentating and transformative effects. When we look at people's incomes, those are 16 countries in which we were able to find detailed incomes. And that's across sort of income brackets of countries. You can see the zero line here, the red line is the median income in each country. And then it plots here occupations that are exposed. The red and orange dots are exposed to this risk of automation, and blue dots, light and dark blue, dots are more in the zones of augmentation. And what you can see is a number of patterns. You can see that, first of all, this technology has very little to do with the kind of work that people with low income tend to do. The low income groups are all here and they are below the median, and you can see that they are hardly exposed. You have some minimal exposure for drivers and different small tasks that can be improved, but the real story is happening here. And what is happening is that people who are at the risk of automation are closer to the median, and people who are in the group that could benefit from augmentation, from this transformative effect, are already above the median quite significantly. So we have another potential discriminatory effect of this technology, where the people who are at the risk of automation could see a drop in the remuneration for their kind of work that they provide, whereas people who are already earning quite a lot might see additional benefits from that. So you could, in a way, see shrinking of the middle class if this technology materializes with sort of negative automating effects. Now, another thing that is quite important when we think about this technology is what is the difference of being in the same job but in different countries. And we can see that when we unpack surveys like PIAC and STEP, which basically ask adults what they do at work. That's the part of work I'm also doing with the World Bank. And what you can see here is that in high-income countries, which is this red line, the use of computers and the share of routine manual work in the same occupations is much higher. So people use more of computers and they have fewer routine manual tasks than in lower and upper middle income countries. Also, when we look at non-routine analytical tasks, they are much higher as a share of the tasks that people perform in high-income countries than in upper middle income and low-income countries. What do we mean by non-routine analytical tasks? Well, we mean that typically can benefit from this technology, that is AI, because we're talking about preparation of reports, of analysis, of PowerPoint presentations, of any kind of analytical work that is not standard. And this is typically with this technology comes in handy. And if you, for the start, have a lower share of such tasks in your occupation, then the likelihood of you benefiting equally is also lower. So when
Excuse
we
me,
adjust
Powell,
here,
you have
yes?
5 more minutes, please.
yes, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
I will fit in that with no problem. So when we look on the left at the raw sort of exposure scores and the difference between lower middle income countries, upper middle income, and high income countries, you can see this kind of a tightly packed distribution. But when we adjust for what I just showed you for what the content of tasks is, you can see that the difference is much bigger. So the exposure to this technology is much higher in countries like Japan and Singapore, highly digitized, highly technical countries, and it drops in lower income countries quite significantly because of this task content, use of computers at work, access to internet. So what does it mean that people actually use it at work? Well, it's another question. We asked that in several surveys recently, and it really matters whether you used it once in a while or whether you use it daily. And when we look at the use during the last week, We got 16.7%, that's the survey from Poland we recently did, reporting that they use it at least during the last week. But when we look at who's using this technology, we can see that there's a big divide in terms of inequality among the age groups. So young people are the ones who use it the most. Older workers, the less they report using it. In this old pre-retirement bracket, 55 to 64, we can see that 85% of workers reported not using this technology. So you immediately can imagine that in addition to those gender effects I mentioned, you might have important age-related effects and discrimination. And finally, I want to close with this slide, which is something that is really important in the context of the meeting and the discussions that you will be having, which has to do with potentially discriminatory effects of this technology and some red lines that we think that should not be crossed. Why are we talking about it? We're talking about it because this technology makes it very easy to develop applications that can take your communication, that can collect data, that can analyze the tone, speed of responses, and so on. And we think that there are certain red lines where it shouldn't be used for monitoring of workers. First of all, that concerns using it outside of work. Second, in places where basically that poses risk to human dignity, checking how often you go on your toilet breaks or cigarette breaks, and monitoring and logging that and analyzing it using AI. And finally, private conversations and communications, especially if these concern, for example, communications with staff union representatives. And in general, we have been advocating that no one should be hired by an algorithm, and that there should open responsibility behind such a process of performance appraisals. So any kind of important decision for individuals in the workplace context. And finally, here on the right, something that you are probably quite familiar with by now, but that's often forgotten. We often imagine that AI is produced by a group of highly tech-savvy people somewhere in Silicon Valley, but the reality is that it's a lot of work for people, and that's often people in lower-income countries who have to label data and work on the preparation of these AI models, and often in questionable working conditions, including the remuneration linked to those jobs. A lot of this work is done on digital platforms, and the ILO is currently having a normative discussion on a possibly new standard of work on digital platforms, which we think would be very important. Of course, there's much more that happens on digital platforms, but the AI-related work becomes quite an important element of this work. At this, you can find much more of our work on the Observatory of AI and the work in digital economy of the ILO, which I recommend you also follow on LinkedIn here. And tomorrow I will also publish there a new essay about how this technology has changed our communication with machines and what it means for the world of work. But probably I covered most of it already in this presentation. Thank you again for inviting me, and I would like to wish you a great discussion and really a good conference.
Thank you, Mr. Pavel. It's a very rich presentations, but to the time. But I think Mr. Pavel already give you a lot of reference that you can look at also after this. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, kami juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bapak Pratikno. Kami mempersilakan Bapak kalau ada.
Kita kasih aplaus untuk lagi untuk Pak Pratikno. Terima kasih,
lain.
Bapak.
Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak Bapak. Kita akan meneruskan diskusi tentu saja tadi dengan penjelasan dari Bapak yang sangat komprehensif.
We will now move to the panel discussion. And it's my pleasure to invite three distinguished panelists, Ibu Mariska Tambunan, President Director of SHL Indonesia, Pak Zaki Zainal Hussein, Head of Technology, Media and Telecommunication at Asseghaf Hamzah and Partner, and Pak Doni J.A. Saktiawan, Head of Corporate Employment Relation, People Experience and Athletics PT Astra International Tbk, to the front.
Silakan Bapak dan Ibu sekalian.
Yeah. It's my pleasure to invite our first panelist, Ibu Mariska Tambunan, President Director of SHL Indonesia. Ibu Mariska brings over 15 years of expertise in talent assessment, strategic human capital management, and leadership development to Indonesia's evolving workplace landscape. As a President Director of SHL Indonesia, she has led the company's transformation toward data-driven strategic HR solutions that deliver measurable organization impact. Ibu Mariska, please come to the red carpet. You have 10 minutes to share your thoughts and insights on potential opportunities and risk of AI utilization at work for human resource management, recruitment, performance management, and beyond MSMC private companies, including public sectors. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Pak. Yes, I think I need to look at the slides. Thank you so much for the opportunity and welcome once again, everybody. It's been a pleasure having this kind of discussion. Thank you so much also to put me at this time, because the presentation just before is actually a very good context in regards and in relations to my presentations. So the title of my presentations is Build and Delivered a Responsible AI in the World of Work. I will start my presentation by telling you that every day we make a decision. And when we make a decision, what do we know? What do we need? If someone came to me, every day someone came to me, my team, and then they said, I will need you to make a decision for me. And then what I do with them is that, please give me context. I cannot help you in making decisions without you giving me a context. Imagine that we are coming late to a meeting, and in that meeting they have been discussing about things about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. What do we do, Bapak Ibu? I think we will stay and then we will try to look at our surroundings, try to understand what they are discussing about, and then we're not saying anything until we grasp what exactly they are discussing. It is our effort to understand the context first before we finally make a decision. So that is why context is something that is very much useful. One problem happens in a situation A may need a different solutions if it happened in a different situations, right? So that is exactly what happens when I look at the AI. How do we ensure that the AI, artificial intelligence, is actually delivered the right solutions that we require depending on the context? So the first thing, I think the next slides, is that your AI models are as good as the data they were trained. We know that we agree with this, that at many times our AI is actually degradasi. We think that our AI is the very powerful tools, but in fact, it is a degrading. And what is the root cause of the degrading AI? There are at least three. The first one, I think it would be in the next slides. The first one is there is a shifting demographics and also gender disparities. So for example, we have used a data that is applicable in one country. If we take a look at the data that has been just shared in the previous presentation, we can see that each country has a different level of characteristics, different level of data. And what happened if we use that context to our context right away? So that would make the AI that we are using is degrading in such a way. As I look at the reports of, I think, readiness assessment methodology, I think it's a report generated by UNESCO about the readiness of having AI. This is something that compared Indonesia as a country, the ratio of men and women who works behind the AI. We can say that Indonesia is somewhere in that name. However, the ratio, it is the lowest, in fact, if we compare to the other countries. Even with Laos, Myanmar, we've seen that we probably higher than that, but every one man working behind AI, only less than that women involved in that. And back to the statement that your AI models, depending on the data behind that, we can see that there is a disparity in terms of gender on how we are working with data in AR. So first, that my point is that irrelevant context due to the demographics and genders and models of AR are not sensitive as the trained data is not well captured the changing demographics. That's the first one. The second one is the rapid changing of the business and the technology. For example, if we, in today's job market, the skills and qualities needed for a job is changing from time to time. If you're talking about salesman, no, not salesman, salesperson, it has to be equal between salesman and saleswomen, right? So let's just use salesperson from now. It is different. Sales is no longer something about selling hard, but you need to selling smart. And that is the changing path of the requirement of the jobs. And another thing is, we can see that there is because I am working for an assessment industry, and in assessment industry, many clients coming to us and said, I don't have time to do that kind of long assessments. So they love having interview on top of others, while actually what they need is the understanding about the traits, the understanding about ability, cognitive reasoning, that is much deeper than the communication skills. Because they diminish that kind of approach, then those people who are selected only by the interview, eventually we will only, take the people who have a good communication skill. While actually the job requires more than just communication skills. So that is the second cause of the degradation in the AI. The third one is in the learning environment. We try to provide a simulator training, for example. We try to make a simulation that can capture the whole setting of the work, for example. However, it is not enough because the work has been changing from time to time. So it is also another thing that has been degrading the AI hiring model. The next slides. Okay, so we would like to propose then how to build and deliver a responsible AI model. There is a 3P that we propose as the AI governance model. It should include a good platforms, a good people behind it, and then a good processes. The governance that we talk about should involve an active efforts from time to time to sharpen what is inside behind the algorithm. So because this is a space where we will discuss about the policy, we will having a dialogue on the policy. I think this model is very relevant for us. 3Ps, which is processes, people, and platforms. We need to ensure that the platform have a real-time tracking and adaptive enhancement for optimal performance. And for the people, we need to have a subject matter experts who continuously working on keeping the AI and algorithm updated. And then the process also to continual AI model enhancement through vigilant governance. That's the thing. The next one, okay, this is something. Since Pak Minister talking about let's go into a global competition, but not forgetting inclusivity. So this is something that came to my WhatsApp group last night, Bapak Ibu. Maybe some of you already know about this. This is coming from South Sulawesi. And the name of the profession is, anyone know? Bisu, with double S. Yes? Okay, thank God, someone knew, because I just knew last night, Pak. So Bisu is a spiritual leader coming from South Sulawesi, and they represented 5 gender in South Sulawesi. There are 5. So I think I would like to cordially ask you to just browse because I don't have time to explain about that. But this actually explaining that Indonesia has its DNA of inclusivity. The spiritual of Bisu is not to saying that they don't have gender. No, but they representing all the needs and the interests of whatever gender we have. So in this case, I think AI needs also to have that kind of sensitivity to ensure that the algorithm will cover everyone. I think that's my presentation. Thank you so much, Bapak Ibu.
Ya, terima kasih Ibu Mariska. Very inspiring presentations actually. Okay, now we would like to invite our second panelist, Bapak Jackie Jainal Hussein, Head of Technology, Media, and Telecommunication at Assegaf Hamzah and Partners. As a background, Bapak Jackie has an in-depth experience on regulatory issue concerning a full spectrum of T&T matters at Assegaf Hamzah and Partner. Pak Jackie, aside from advising and representing clients, Pak Jackie also active in providing substantive inputs during the discussion stage of various draft regulation being prepared by the government of Indonesia. Bapak Jackie, please come to the stage, and you also have 10 minutes, Pak, to share your thoughts and insight on the role of the regulators in governing the use and applications of the AI. Pak Jackie, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang Bapak Ibu sekalian. Pertama-tama terima kasih kepada ILO telah mengundang saya untuk hadir pada event ini dan juga untuk menjadi bagian dari this panel. So the question that was posed to me is on what is the regulatory framework for AI. The rule of thumb for good regulation is always to understand or to ask the question first of why do you need to regulate, and what is to be regulated, and maybe also who is to be regulated. Now, for you that's been in Indonesia for a while, formulating a policy, even just a policy, not a regulation, is quite a process. It's a quite interest-based process, and hence it's not an easy thing. So one of the easier approach to it would be, if you're developing a regulation, is to have evidence-based process. So like the study that was, or the paper that was shared by the previous speaker from ILO is something that could be the basis for saying why do you need to regulate AI? Because there is the assumption, or there is already enough empirical evidence that there is discrimination if AI is being used in widespread and does not consider certain marginalized group, for example, or certain, there was mentioned about gender equality and all that. So it's evidence-based is one approach to look at regulation. Second is maybe on what is being regulated. AI is, what is AI? AI is a technology, and it's evolving from one that is as simple as just maybe a search engine. Now it's more prevalent as a generative AI. Maybe moving forward will be agentic AI. So it's still evolving. And for me, for example, who is not a tech person, it's not easy to immediately grasp what is it now. So if at this juncture we want to regulate AI, the most use case, if you will, is AI as generative AI, perhaps. And I think that is most of the context when we talk about AI these days. So that's the what. The third one, maybe the other relevant one is who. Who should be regulated? Is it the developer? Is it the one who is the operator, the company that uses AI, the end users. All of that are relevant questions. And again, I come back to the this notion that it's better if we have something evidence-based, that we have a study about it. Hence, it's always good to have what we call naskah akademis. It's like a study paper that you have to put together before you issue a regulation. Okay, that's the introduction. Let me talk now a little bit about what is being put together, if you will, in Indonesia. I was a bit surprised. Pak Minister just now, Pak Pratikno, shared the initiative under his office, which is I'm not sure whether it is also part of this process, because this is which is led by the Ministry of Communication and Digital, Komdigi. I hope there is coordination. Truly am. I'm not from the government, so I don't have visibility on that. But I was fortunate enough to be participating in this process. This is the one on the screen. And in fact, I noticed some of you in the audience who is also part of this process. So please indulge me in sharing some of this. Obviously, the national AI strategy is in conjunction with the vision of the president. So the president has a vision, and he has made it, he has said a couple of times, the vision is my vision. There's no vision of minister. So this is the vision. He is, one of the things that he is focusing is on digital economy. It is a priority sector, if you will. The development of the internet, the connectivity, the connectivity to serve the outerlying regions, to serve the to provide access for internet. That is something that he's high on his agenda, if you will. Technology, therefore, is something that is a factor that will contribute to that. And AI, I'm looking at AI as a technology. It's something that will, if there's two ways to look at it. It could be an enabler, a tool, or could be a challenge if not managed correctly. So this is the thinking behind the national strategy. If I can make it to that, and I think all of the speaker before has also observed that there are obvious advantages of using AI, and there's also the downside of it. Hence why we're talking about discrimination and biases and all that. So the national strategy actually follows on national AI also strategy that was developed in 2020, but was not, if I will, was not. I don't want to say not implemented, but it has run into problem in implementation because there is no implementation mechanism. So this is a continuation of it. It builds on that, and so it follows the what do you call the focus areas, if you will, but with some maybe additional area. The one right now has 7 working groups: ethics, regulation, infrastructure and data, research and industrial innovation, talent development, investment and funding, and use cases. As you can see, it's quite extensive and broad. All of this, if, for example, if passed by this year or early next year, we'll have to follow the vision of the president, and so it's a plan till the end of 2029. to commensurate with the period of his presidency. One of the key point or the key component is on ethics. Why start with that? Ethics. I think it's just a safe place to start because it's not really. Is it binding? Is it not binding? Is it it promotes certain principles? It sets the ground for a much later process, which is going to be more binding. I think that's the idea. So at the end of August or early September, two paper or two product was released for consultation, for public consultation. One is on the white paper on the 7 working groups, and one is on ethical guidelines. So this was issued, and people are various groups or anybody, stakeholders are invited to provide their comments on the content. Okay, well, let me just quickly go through the ethical guidelines, maybe because that's the ethical guidelines has 9 ethics that is the principles that has to be adhered to in developing or using AI in Indonesia. One, and in line with the themes of this discussion this afternoon is to prevent discrimination. So if you look at inclusivity, accessibility, and transparency, those are, the explanation is on this side, and it's meant to address or hopes to capture or hopes to address the issue of non-discrimination. And there is the correspondingly, it has to be looked at from the point of view as when I started just now, I said, and who should be looking at this? Is it the sectoral actors, decision makers, and the end users? So the point of view of those various, if you will, stakeholders also have to be, they have a point of view that contributes to the way to address the non-discrimination. So there are ethical values. Maybe yang berikutnya, slides berikutnya.
Next slide.
Yeah. So this is the way that I think the regulators is putting this together, and I cannot do justice by explaining this in 10 minutes. But so they have ethical values, and they understand that it's something which is going to be slight. It's not going to be something easy to uphold. So there is suggested of some safeguards to actually uphold the values, the ethics, and there is a mechanism to monitor it and then to evaluate it. So this is the maybe if later this could be distributed. It's the flow of the thinking, but in the end, it's something that has to be looked at holistically in addressing the issue of non-discrimination via the introduction of the ethical standards. Maybe that's the.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Let's give applause to Pak Zaki. Our last panelist, but not least, is Bapak Doni J.A. Saktiawan, Head of Corporate Employment Relations, People Experience and Analytics, PT Astra International TPK. Pak Doni leads Astra International Strategic Human Resources Consulting Function, overseeing employee experience, industrial relation, and people analytics across one of Indonesia's largest conglomerate. As a member of APindo's Regulatory and Institutional Relation Committee and Vice Chair of Kadin's Employment Policy Development Committee, he actively shapes national discourse on employment regulation and workforce strategies. Pak Doni, the floor is yours.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, good afternoon, Bu Simrin, Pak Diego, Bapak Ibu distinguished panelists dan juga rekan-rekan semua. For more clear delivery, allow me to deliver message in bahasa. Bapak Ibu, bayangkan algoritmalah yang menentukan siapa yang layak mendapatkan pekerjaan. Dia yang menentukan siapa yang layak promosi di tempat kerja untuk sebuah jabatan. Pertanyaannya adalah, akankah AI dapat menjamin rasa keadilan di tempat kerja? Atau justru malah algoritmalah yang membuat orang-orang tertentu, kelompok tertentu tersisih secara diam-diam karena bias algoritma yang terjadi dan tidak terlihat. Inilah yang menjadi PR kita bersama, bahwa harusnya teknologi, ya, faktanya teknologi hari ini khususnya AI yang harusnya netral, yang harusnya memberikan rasa aman dan keadilan bagi kemanusiaan, tapi mempunyai potensi untuk diskriminasi. Saya Doni Sektiawan akan menyampaikan pengalaman kami dalam mengintegrasikan artificial intelligence di Astra International. Berawal dari visi Astra to be an intelligent and agile corporation. Jadi Astra ingin menjadi perusahaan yang kompetitif dengan cara memanfaatkan data dan teknologi sehingga terus unggul dan berkembang. Tetapi kita juga harus sadar bahwa tidak hanya teknologi saja yang harus kita adopt sehingga kita unggul, tetapi kita harus juga focusing on our people, customers, and society. Ini menandakan bahwa kami mempunyai komitmen bahwa teknologi tidak bisa mengesampingkan orang. Harus tetap respect humanity. Dan ini align dengan catur dharma kita, our corporate philosophy, di nomor 3, to respect the individual and promote teamwork. Artinya teknologi yang kita adopt untuk menjadi intelligent organization harus sejalan dengan nilai-nilai kemanusiaan dan corporate values Astra. Sehingga diskriminasi, eksklusivitas itu menjadi hal-hal yang akan kami hindari. Next slide. Dan perjalanan kami berawal dari kami mendapatkan kesempatan hadir di World Economic Forum di Davos tahun 2016-17. Kemudian kami menginisiasi di grup level untuk Future of Work Initiatives. Saya menjadi salah satu tim perwakilan dari Human Capital untuk merumuskan digital transformation yang ada di Astra. Dan we had engaged dengan Microsoft ya untuk project-project digital transformation. Dan pada tahun 2019 Human Capital Astra piloting di machine learning, analytics use case, kemudian terus berkembang sampai hari ini yang tadinya kita fokus di analytical AI, kemudian teknologi terus evolve dan kami masuk di area generative AI dan hari ini kita sedang piloting di agentic AI. Di mana per hari ini kami sudah ada beberapa use case, untuk analytical use case ada 12, kemudian Gen AI use cases ada 6, dan juga agentic use case per nanti tahun 2026 akan ada 3 agentic AI use cases. Dan perjalanan ini tentu bukan tanpa kendala. Ya. Kami berhasil mengumpulkan big data. Kami berhasil mengumpulkan data yang sangat berkualitas dari grup kami, ada di 300 company di grup Astra. Machine learning dan AI belajar dengan cepat, kemudian informasi sangat akurat. Tetapi ada satu hal, efek samping dari big data jika tidak kita regulasi dengan efektif. Kita sebut dengan data and algorithmic bias. Jadi, algoritma tentu belajar dari historical data. Uniknya di Astra, jumlah pekerja laki-laki adalah 80% dari total workforce yang ada di Astra. Karena Astra unik, 80% dari bisnis operation kami ada di sektor manufacturing, di area mining, di sites, di cabang, di kebun, dan seterusnya, sehingga cenderung maskulin begitu ya. Nah, sehingga ketika kita membiarkan algoritma untuk mempelajari siapa yang masuk Astra dan siapa yang dipromosikan, maka akan terjadi bias karena algoritma belajar dari historical data yang demikian. Sehingga sepanjang employee life cycle kami mengelola human capital management, kita pastikan faktor-faktor yang mempengaruhi hasil prediksi dari machine learning dan AI yang kami punya, kami mengeksklude faktor-faktor yang diskriminatif, seperti gender dan juga kelompok-kelompok tertentu yang ada di profil karyawan, kami exclude sehingga algoritma yang ada tidak lagi bias. Sebagai contoh di rekrutmen, seperti yang saya sampaikan, ketika historical data lebih banyak lebih banyak laki-laki yang direkrut, maka dia akan menyarankan memprediksi yang lolos adalah lebih banyak laki-laki. Dan itu ingin kita hindari, karena itu tidak inklusif. Di fase development juga sama. Kita mempersiapkan Astra Future Leader. Dan hari ini di jajaran manajerial 60-70% adalah laki-laki. Algoritma bisa jadi memprediksi yang akan sukses, yang akan dipromosikan adalah laki-laki. Dan itu bertentangan dengan inklusivitas yang kami bangun. Dan sebagai informasi, per tahun 2020-2021, kami launching Sustainability Aspiration for 2030. Dan salah satu inisiatifnya adalah Astra for Everyone. Jadi, dan kami fokus di gender diversity, sehingga kita selalu terus evaluasi algoritma-algoritma yang ada di setiap machine learning dan AI yang kami deploy di sepanjang employee life cycle ini, agar tidak bias dan terus bisa mendorong inklusivitas. Next. Dan berikut adalah policy kami dalam meregulasi, mensupervisi AI, dan mengelola data yang kami punya. Saya rasa juga sama dengan panelis sebelumnya, bagaimana kami menyebutnya 6 building blocks of responsible AI. Jadi ini policy terkait responsible AI, di mana kami ingin memastikan fairness, reliability and safety, jadi AI yang tidak bisa dimanipulasi sehingga diskriminatif, kami sangat jaga. Kemudian privacy and security, kami harus menjaga data sesuai undang-undang PDP dan juga kelayakan yang ada di internal. Inklusivitas tentunya, transparansi, berbicara terkait bagaimana AI kita harus bisa menjelaskan bagaimana AI ini prosesnya sampai mengambil keputusan. Sehingga memastikan prosesnya tepat dan tidak ada pelanggaran di sana. Dan yang terakhir, accountability, developer dan juga orang yang in charge di AI harus bertanggung jawab atas setiap keputusan yang dihasilkan dan setiap keputusan yang diambil berdasarkan AI. Dan kesimpulan akhir dari kami, AI must empower humanity. Never excluded. Thank you.
Yes, terima kasih Bapak Doni. Very rich experience of Astra. Again, let's give a big applause to all our panelists for sharing the valuable thoughts and insights. I think we now have a more richer understanding on how artificial intelligence in reshaping the modern workplace, transforming the ways organizing, how the organization hire, evaluate, promote, and also manage the employees. Of course, while AI bring remarkable opportunities for efficiency, scalability, and innovation, it also introduced serious concern about fairness and discriminations, like our panelists said. So I think we need really to know when the data carries historical bias or inequities, AI system can unintentionally replicate and even amplify discriminatory outcomes at scale.
Ya, Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu, saya switch ke bahasa Indonesia karena sekarang kita akan membuka pertanyaan. Jadi kita menyediakan karena waktu kita akan mengundang 3 pertanyaan dari audiens. Kalau ada silahkan raise your hand, kemudian teman dari panitia nanti akan memberikan mikrofonnya. 1 bapak-bapak, 1 bapak-bapak, ada ibu-ibu nggak?
Kita tidak mau diskriminatif
Iya.
ya. Boleh, ada yang
Pak Kartel tunda sebentar,
perempuan.
2 dulu di sini ya. Silahkan 1 dulu mungkin teman-teman panitia mohon mikrofonnya diberikan ke Bapak 1 di row ketiga dan kemudian di row kelima.
Boleh sebutkan nama dan organisasinya ya Pak sebelum bertanya.
Bismillah, selamat sore. Nama saya Tubau Simron dari RBU. Saya ingin bertanya, mungkin siapa saja yang bisa jawab ya. Kalau berkaitan EA, kalau kaitannya dengan pekerjaan, kita kan ada 2 bentuk ya Pak, Bu. Ada padat karya, ada padat modal. Nah, kalau EA ini diterapkan ke padat modal, mungkin efisien, mungkin bisa menguntungkan perusahaan. Tapi kalau kita berkaitan dengan buruh, kalau kita kaitkan lagi dengan padat karya yang isinya kebanyakan manusia, itu kadang satu sisi resikonya karena semuanya otomasi dengan teknologi, jadi menyingkirkan tenaga manusia. Itu bagaimana pandangannya untuk ke depan? Karena kita kan masih banyak bentuk padat karya yang
Ya,
masih
masih
membutuhkan
sangat
banyak
manual
karyawan.
ya.
Betul Pak.
Oke.
Mungkin itu aja, terima
Terima
kasih.
kasih, terima kasih. Kita beri applause dulu ke Bapak penanya nomor 1. Penanya nomor 2 silahkan, biar nanti kita kumpulkan dulu. Sambil ibu-ibu ada nggak yang, oke, ke belakang ya, habis itu. Maaf Pak Karel, kita tunda dulu. Ya, silakan Pak, nama dan
Baik, terima
asalnya.
kasih Bapak. Selamat siang, terima kasih kesempatannya Bapak dan Ibu. Saya Aden Budi dari Indonesia AI Institute. Kami lembaga baru, kebetulan kami salah satu founders untuk mencerahkan Indonesia dengan AI, gitu Pak ya. Satu yang ingin kami tanyakan, terutama mungkin ini bisa juga untuk Bapak Ibu pelaku usaha dan tadi yang lawyer Pak siapa ya? Saya lupa.
Pak Zaki.
Pak Zaki. Jadi begini, tadi saya membaca ada etik siapa ya? Etika AI ya. Nah, di situ justru saya melihat hal yang paling utama untuk AI adalah itu. Sekarang mungkin kita bisa dengar cerita Pak, sempat ramai di grup WA mungkin 2-3 minggu yang lalu tentang orang yang rekeningnya habis gara-gara korban video call dari seseorang gitu ya, yang itu tidak tahu siapa. Nah, kalau ini terjadi Pak, seharusnya siapa yang harus bertanggung jawab? Kami masyarakat publik sebagai pengguna itu sudah mematuhi apa yang harus dikerjakan misalkan Pak ya. Tapi sebagai apakah perusahaan harus turut bertanggung jawab dengan itu jika terjadi sesuatu. Nah, saya minta mungkin tidak sekedar etik berarti Pak. Itu harus sampai ke regulation.
Apa regulasinya gitu kira-kira ya?
Regulasinya supaya tanggung jawabnya sampai ke sana gitu Pak.
Ya, dan jelas siapa yang salah ya.
Betul, jadi memastikan bahwa perusahaan yang mengoperasionalkan AI itu sudah menghindari hal tersebut.
Oke.
Itu Pak,
Baik.
mungkin ke sana aja.
Terima
Karena
kasih.
Sekali lagi, terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Baik.
Yang ibu belakang tadi?
Oke, saya Livia dari UN Women Indonesia. Pertanyaan mungkin untuk Pak Doni dari Astra. Tadi dipaparkan contoh penggunaan AI untuk menghindari bias-bias rekrutmen, terutama bias gender ya Pak ya. Mungkin boleh dijelaskan nggak Pak, kira-kira filter nyata atau contoh-contoh filter atau upaya machine learning yang digunakan untuk mencegah bias gendernya itu seperti apa sih Pak? Karena saya lihat ini bagus sekali praktik menggunakan AI untuk mencegah bias gender dalam rekrutmen. Di tengah mungkin masih banyak perusahaan-perusahaan lain yang belum aware soal ini. Jadi mungkin masih dari rekrutmennya secara tradisional menyaratkan misalkan harus berpenampilan menarik atau harus nomor 1 laki-laki tidak sedang hamil dan lain sebagainya. Mungkin itu.
Umur juga ada ya, umur ya.
Umur, tinggi badan juga
Ya,
ada ya.
ya, oke,
Iya,
terima
siap.
kasih. Kita jawab dulu ya 3 pertanyaan tadi. Silakan Pak Doni duluan, nanti Bu Mariska sama Pak Zaki. Silakan.
Oke, terima kasih. Pertanyaan yang relate mungkin pertanyaan yang pertama dan ketiga ya. Pertama, ini mungkin sudut pandang saya sekaligus sebagai apindo juga kali ya, karena relate tadi pertanyaan pertama terkait industri padat karya gitu.
Ya.
Yang pertama, Astra juga punya industri padat karya begitu. Dan AI tidak serta-merta diimplementasikan di seluruh industri karena satu, investasinya sangat besar Bapak Ibu. Kemudian yang kedua, tidak selalu aplikatif dengan proses bisnis yang ada di industri. Kemudian kita believe, kita sebenarnya sudah melewati revolusi industri itu sudah 4 dan ini ke-5 gitu ya. Mulai dari mesin uap di tahun 1700 atau 1876 ya, kalau nggak salah. Kemudian setelah itu ada mass production menggunakan listrik, kemudian automation, kemudian digitalisasi di revolusi industri 4.0, dan hari ini kita AI, khususnya generative AI. Gitu. Dan manusia ini adalah makhluk Tuhan yang paling sempurna menurut saya. Dan selama ini manusia selalu survive menghadapi revolusi teknologi, revolusi industri yang dimotori oleh teknologi. Dan saya yakin industri akan dan manusia akan bertemu di equilibrium baru, titik optimal baru di mana tidak ada manusia yang tersisihkan karena AI, karena kemampuan adaptasinya sangat luar biasa. Dan kita tahu hari ini, generasi hari ini, banyak sekali yang tidak mau terikat dengan perusahaan, inginnya bebas, sehingga muncul gig economy, gig workers, freelancers. Dan juga dengan adanya teknologi baru, akhirnya muncul pekerjaan-pekerjaan baru. YouTuber, TikToker, kemudian kreatif, segala macam industri kreatif, dan itu modalnya apa? AI. Dan ini teknologi yang sangat inklusif. Sehingga saya believe manusia tidak akan tersisihkan dengan AI. Kemudian yang kedua, pertanyaan terkait rekrutmen, jujur kami masih piloting, beberapa kali kami review terus machine learning kami, dan implementasinya sebenarnya objektif dari perusahaan apa? Objektif dari Astra adalah memotong lead time proses dari proses rekrutmen. Kita ingin proses rekrutmen yang lebih streamline, more efficient, more accurate untuk mendapatkan kandidat terbaik begitu ya. Itu purpose dari HR management di rekrutmen kami. Sehingga mesin mempunyai peran di sini. Untuk apa? Untuk mempercepat proses. Sebagai gambaran, di Astra Internasional, satu vakan itu bisa diperebutkan oleh 5.000 sampai 10.000 kandidat.
Satu position, Pak?
Satu position. Kemudian untuk manajemen trainee, itu satu bisa 60.000. 1:60.000. Kapan kami bekerjanya kalau seperti itu gitu. Sehingga machine learning coba melakukan shortlist, tapi harus mengindahkan inklusivitas, sehingga tidak ada kolom yang namanya gender, kemudian mohon maaf agama, kemudian penampilan segala macam, dan hari ini CV-CV yang masuk bahkan foto itu tidak disertakan.
Oh, itu ada tips ya kalau barangkali mau apply ke Astra, jangan kasih fotonya.
Itu mulai kami terapkan,
Ya.
gitu ya, sehingga memastikan objektivitas dalam rekrutmen.
Ya.
Dan kami terus berikhtiar untuk mereview machine learning kami agar tidak ada yang tertinggal. Pesan Pak Menteri tadi, no one left behind,
Ya.
gitu ya, dari proses rekrutmen ini, sehingga semuanya bisa terakomodir. Dan paling penting, Chief kami juga sering menyampaikan bahwa Astra itu tempatnya orang-orang yang kompeten, sehingga merit based, kompetensi yang menjadi utama yang bisa direkrut dan join Astra. Semoga
Oke.
menjawab.
Terima kasih Pak Doni. Kita kasih aplaus buat Pak Doni. Ibu Mariska, silakan Bu.
Ya, saya menambahkan dari yang disampaikan Pak Doni ya, antara padat karya dan padat modal tadi pertanyaannya Bapak. Pertama Pak, AI yang kita bicarakan itu banyak bentuk dan banyak versinya. Dan pekerja yang sedang melakukan pekerjaannya itu juga banyak jenis pekerjaannya dan tingkat kompleksitasnya. Sehingga sebetulnya dikala AI diterapkan dalam bentuk yang tepat, di dalam level yang juga tepat, itu justru akan membantu pekerja untuk meningkatkan kemampuan mereka. Jadi saya juga termasuk orang yang tidak melihat AI itu akan mengurangi pekerjaan, tetapi di satu sisi kita punya kewajiban sebagai human untuk bisa memberikan nilai yang lebih dari yang sebelumnya. Jadi kalau tadi kita perhatikan presentasi di awal, bahwa ada pekerjaan yang diotomasi, ada pekerjaan yang diaugmentasi. Kalau tadi kita lihat di awal sekali. Pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang otomasi itu memang kecenderungannya akan hilang. Tetapi dalam hal ini kita sebagai pengelola bisnis atau pengelola usaha, maka sebetulnya kita bisa membantu bahwa di level otomasi itu KPI-nya adalah percepatan. Sementara kalau di augmentasi, KPI-nya adalah peningkatan bisnis. Jadi beda nih Pak. Dengan begitu apakah dia padat karya ataukah dia padat modal, dua-duanya akan menjadi lebih efektif. Sebetulnya itulah begitu indahnya kalau AI bisa kita arahkan dalam bentuk yang seperti itu. Nah itu PR kita bersama melalui regulasi dan lain-lain. Kalau untuk pertanyaan kedua, saya pikir nanti Pak Zaki yang akan menjawab.
Ya.
Kalau pertanyaan ketiga tadi sudah dijawab oleh Pak Doni, tapi saya juga ingin menyampaikan
Silakan Bu.
tidak semua organisasi memang seobjektif Astra, yang memang mereka memiliki begitu banyak kandidat yang akan masuk, pilihannya besar. Lalu bagaimana tantangan kepada perusahaan yang mungkin jumlah pelamarnya nggak sebanyak itu?
Ya.
Atau mereka punya kebutuhan-kebutuhan yang memang spesifik gitu ya. Nah kembali lagi antara merit base dengan kemudian inclusivity.
Ya.
Itu adalah policy yang menurut saya governance-nya seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan di dalam presentasi saya. Jadi platform, people, dan proses itu yang harus dipertajam dari waktu ke waktu sehingga machine learning-nya bisa tetap relevan dengan apa yang diminta oleh bisnisnya. Itu aja tambahan.
Terima kasih Bu Mariska
Terima kasih.
tambahannya. Kita kasih aplaus buat Bu Mariska. Terima kasih. Pak Zaki terakhir.
Ya,
Sebelum kita ke audiens lagi ya, masih ada waktu untuk satu round lagi. Silakan Pak Zaki.
terima kasih. Mungkin saya fokus ke yang pertanyaan kedua aja ya, karena yang 1 dan 3 sudah dijawab. Kenapa fokus ke etika gitu? Etika itu tadi saya sampaikan bagian dari 7 tadi working groups yang ada dalam working group National AI Strategy gitu ya. Nah, kenapa kemudian dia akan lebih dulu dituangkan dalam suatu guidelines gitu? Karena memang itu entry point yang menurut saya entry point yang membalance antara kebutuhan inovasi dan juga untuk perlindungan gitu. Nah, jadi mindsetnya mau dibikin sama dulu bahwa inilah prinsip-prinsip etika yang harus dipegang. Jadi memang Pak ini benar ini idealis gitu Pak ya, idealis. Nah, tadi kalau Bapak kaitkan dengan kasus, nah ini tadi saya nggak tahu kasusnya yang mana gitu Pak ya, tapi kalau tadi ada penipuan lah gitu Pak ya,
Penipuan,
berdasarkan
ya, betul,
video
Pak.
call. Nah, itu kan deliknya atau crime-nya itu kan penipuan Pak gitu. Dan itu kan sudah ada pidananya lah gitu. Tidak not necessarily ini karena AI gitu ya Pak ya. Jadi ini ya mohon mungkin agak dipisah, jangan dijadiin bukan not necessarily itu karena dari AI gitu. Tapi kalau memang dari AI, nah itu nanti juga satu yang jadi tadi Pak, prinsip-prinsip etika ini nggak bisa berdiri sendiri dan sudah dipahami oleh regulator juga. Makanya mereka juga menyarankan saat ini Pak ya masih menyarankan ada guardrails, ada safeguards. Jadi ini Anda harus mengupload ini dengan mengintroduce safeguard ini gitu. Jangan lupa ini ada safeguardnya. Kemudian ada self assessment. Tadi saya belum selesai dalam presentation saya. Ada self assessment yang nanti akan dinilai, akan dimonitor oleh regulator. Kemudian regulator sektoral akan harus terlibat. Kalau misalnya ini tadi itu yang secara umum oleh Komdigi, kemudian nanti sektoralnya misalnya di Kementerian Ketenagakerjaan yang harus lebih menspesifikkan kalau untuk sektor employment misalnya gitu. Ya mungkin ini menambah penjelasannya Pak. Mungkin segitu, terima kasih.
Mudah-mudahan menjawab ya. Kalau tidak, silahkan belajar lagi dan kita bisa join di forum berikutnya, gitu ya. Kita buka lagi round kedua. Sebentar, ada 1, 2, 3 ya. Oke, sana dulu dia, Dina. Di atas dulu biar agak urut. Pak Karel nanti kedua. Dan kemudian Pak, siapa yang di tengah sini 1. Ya, silakan. Yang belakang sudah tadi? Dina, belakang itu yang jaket merah. Sorry ya, maaf.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mohon izin memperkenalkan diri. Nama saya Bobi Satria, mewakili Bapak Khairul Saleh dari Kemenko Perekonomian. Jadi menarik sekali untuk tema policy dialogue pada siang ini tentang artificial intelligence and non-discrimination in the world of work. Jadi kami memandang tidak hanya dalam proses rekrutmen, mungkin pemanfaatan AI ini akan bisa juga dimanfaatkan untuk menghitung, untuk memprediksi kebutuhan minimum wage dan juga dikaitkan dengan production cost. Seperti itu. Dan itu juga mungkin AI ini mungkin kami memandang juga akan berpengaruh menentukan juga terhadap performance dari setiap pegawai untuk menentukan tingkat kinerja seperti itu. Dan tentunya AI ini juga akan menciptakan peluang kerja baru atau future job ke depannya, dan juga akan pekerjaan yang akan terdegradasi dari pemanfaatan AI. Mungkin kami mohon informasi dan dari Bapak Ibu para narasumber, kiranya mungkin apakah ada bentuk seperti pelatihan atau untuk memitigasi pekerjaan-pekerjaan yang tergerus dari pemanfaatan AI, dan
Training ke siapa nih Pak?
ke
Untuk
pegawai
pekerja atau
pekerjanya, dan
Oke.
juga mungkin dari sisi calon pekerja
Oke.
yang untuk mempersiapkan penyerapan tenaga kerja yang ke depan untuk future job seperti itu.
Iya.
Terima kasih Bapak.
Terima
Ibu.
kasih.
Iya.
Terima kasih Pak. Yang kedua di sini.
Terima kasih. Selamat sore atas kesempatannya. Saya Putu Raka dari Asosiasi Serikat Pekerja Seluruh Indonesia atau Aspirasi. Sebenarnya hampir sama pertanyaan saya dengan pertanyaan yang tadi disampaikan. Disrupsi yang 4.0 itu tadi sudah disebutkan belum begitu cepat selesai dan datang lagi 4.5 ya. Jadi datang lagi artificial intelligence. Nah, banyak teman-teman kami yang ter-PHK dan umurnya mereka itu juga udah banyak juga rata-rata yang umur 40 tahun, 45 tahun.
Jadi yang tua ya Pak?
Yang tua-tua ini. Jadi disrupsinya kan begitu cepat dan bagaimana mereka harus adaptif terhadap perubahan yang segera terjadi sehingga mereka orang yang bisa nantinya juga diberikan kesempatan yang layak dan adil untuk bagaimana hidup sejahtera di Indonesia.
Agak mirip dengan pertanyaan yang tadi, calon pekerja, yang ini bagaimana dengan orang tua? Ya, oke. Bapak, terima kasih pertanyaannya ya.
Sama-sama.
Ke yang pakai topi, silakan Pak.
Ya, siap. Perkenalkan, nama saya Muhammad Popon dari FSPTS KSPSI. Mungkin saya ingin bertanya ke Pak Jaki. Ini sebenarnya lebih spesifik dari pengalaman pribadi, dan ini saya penting buat kita semua, karena AI bukan hanya mereka pelakunya adalah perusahaan atau korporat, tapi juga warga-warga sipil juga sudah melakukan hal seperti itu. Dan saya kebetulan jadi pelaku sehari-hari untuk melakukan campaign
pakai AI ya Pak?
Propaganda untuk peningkatan literasi di Serikat Pekerja itu hampir semuanya kita pakai AI. Yang saya tanyakan Pak Jaki, ada nggak semacam protokol khusus begitu, karena ketika saya membuat juga diliputi rasa takut, ini kira-kira kita dikriminalisasi apa tidak gitu. Ya, satu contoh lah, kita pengen iseng nih pakai wajahnya Donald Trump gitu, anggap saja jadi kita gitu untuk memberikan sesuatu. itu saya pikir ke depan perlu juga ada semacam protokol itu untuk memproteksi bagaimana walaupun tadi mungkin secara umum sudah dibahas soal etik, soal regulasinya, tapi kan tapi kita sebagai pengguna, sebagai yang sehari-hari menjadi pelaku dalam batasan yang sederhana, perlu juga itu
ada batasan sederhana nggak sih gitu,
ya.
paling nggak untuk sekarang.
Ya gitu.
Terima kasih Pak Wawon, terima kasih. Bapak-bapak dan Ibu-ibu, saya mohon maaf sekali bahwa ternyata waktu tidak memungkinkan, terutama Pak Karel, mohon maaf sekali Pak Karel. Jadi ini pertanyaan terakhir, saya minta kepada panelis untuk menjawab mulai dari Pak Zaki.
Prinsipnya kalau memang menggunakan AI untuk hal-hal yang melawan hukum atau untuk sengaja untuk menipu, sengaja untuk mempersonifikasikan orang lain, itu harusnya di produk AI-nya juga sudah nggak bisa Pak gitu. Dan harusnya memang itu udah dari mereka sendiri pun sudah mencegah itu untuk dilakukan. Tapi kan memang pinter-pinter Pak ya, orang-orang pada bisa kemudian melakukan hal seperti itu. Nah kalau misalnya tetap terjadi dan misalnya perusahaan yang AI developernya memang sudah melakukan langkah-langkah untuk mencegah itu dari terjadi dan tetap terjadi, ya itu kemudian menjadi tanggung jawab yang melakukan itu secara memang sudah melawan hukum. Karena kan biasanya untuk menggunakan suatu produk itu udah ada terms and conditions-nya Pak. Ada ketentuan dan syarat-syaratnya. Dan kalau memang ketentuan syarat-syaratnya sudah melarang, kemudian tetap dilakukan, dan mereka sudah mengingatkan dan Bapak tetap melakukan, ya itu yang salah bisa diteruskan ke Bapak. Gitu. Jadi prinsipnya seperti itu. Kalau menurut saya mengenai upskilling dan reskilling ini,
ya.
Tadi apalagi ngomong ortu ya, saya juga termasuk yang udah generasi tua ya. Memang mau tidak mau ya kita harus berusaha beradaptasi juga Pak, mengikuti perkembangan, kemudian juga memahami lah bagaimana cara bekerjanya. Setidaknya ada awareness-nya gitu Pak. Apakah akan menggunakan? Saya juga kadang-kadang khawatir untuk menggunakan, tapi ya ini realitinya nggak bisa kita hindari lah kalau menurut saya. Dan ini memang lebih baik kita memahami ketimbang kita ignorant lah, tidak paham sama sekali. Mungkin itu aja Pak dari saya.
Terima kasih Pak Zaki. Bu Mariska?
Ya, saya setuju sekali ya pertanyaan tadi. Kami juga mewakili usia setengah abad ke atas Pak. Jadi berusaha menjadi relevan, berusaha untuk memahami apa yang sedang terjadi itu menjadi PR tambahan ya untuk kita mengerti gitu. Tapi saya lihat bahwa generasi-generasi yang emas ini punya cara-cara kreatif untuk bertahan. Jadi kalau saya tadi dengar sepintas dari Pak Doni, ada YouTuber, ada apa segala macam, sebenarnya mereka bekerja begitu rupa dengan generasi di bawahnya, lalu menghasilkan karya yang baik begitu. Jadi sebenarnya mungkin upskilling, reskilling, mari kita melihat ini sebagai cara kita untuk juga mendidik generasi masa yang berikut untuk menjadi relevan buat mereka gitu. Jadi kita coba-coba tahu, kita cari deh di mana kita pasti ada sesuatu yang kita bisa berikan, namun caranya mungkin sudah berbeda. Jadi saya rasa upskilling, reskilling itu tidak terbatas umur, terutama juga untuk pertanyaan Bapak yang di atas tadi. Apapun Pak, saat ini eranya itu adalah skill era. Ya, jadi apapun skill yang kita punya, kita memang harus memperbanyak skill itu, gitu. Jadi bukan hanya, kalau dulu kan kita kejar kedudukan ya, kita kejar posisi. Tapi kalau sekarang, kalau kita lihat generasi yang baru, kita boleh belajar dari mereka. Mereka mengumpulkan portfolio skill atau keterampilan. Sehingga kalau mereka punya skill semakin banyak, maka mereka akan lebih sulit untuk, mereka akan lebih banyak dibutuhkan artinya. So artinya berapapun umur kita, ketika skill itu masih kita punya lebih banyak Pak, rasanya kita masih akan tetap punya sesuatu untuk berkontribusi. Itu aja.
Terima kasih Bu Mariska pesan inspirasi. Pak Doni terakhir.
Oke, melengkapi saja. Sebenarnya kata kuncinya adalah upskilling dan reskilling, gitu ya. Dan itu merupakan, kalau bagi kami di Astra itu adalah tanggung jawab perusahaan ya untuk melakukan.
Bukan tanggung jawab pekerja ya Pak?
Yang melakukan upskilling, memfasilitasi program upskilling, reskillingnya. Tetapi pekerja ya yang mau di upskilling dan reskilling ya ayo, yang nggak mau ya gimana.
Ya left behind mungkin ya.
Tapi selama ini beberapa kali kami khususnya ya di industri otomotif ini sangat cepat bergerak teknologi dalam 30-50 tahun terakhir. pergantian teknologi itu selalu diikuti dengan upskilling dan reskilling bagi para pekerja, sehingga tidak ada pekerja yang ditinggalkan dari proses perkembangan teknologi ini. Dan dalam hal AI juga sama. Kami juga, walaupun sekali lagi masih belum banyak, mungkin hanya 10-20% proses yang terlibat menggunakan AI, sehingga upskilling dan reskillingnya pun juga masih belum semasif itu, karena ini masih teknologi kami masih mengenal gitu ya, sehingga itu yang kami lakukan. Dan dalam konteks Indonesia, kami sebagai pengusaha, thank you, salam buat Pak Khairul Saleh, kami ada project juga di Apindo dengan beliau untuk upskilling pekerja. Nah ini ya, kita sosialisasi juga di anggota kami bagaimana AI ini tidak menggantikan, tetapi tadi mengaugment para pekerja sehingga mereka bisa lebih produktif dan lebih berkualitas dari sisi output.
Terima kasih. Pak Doni, Bu Mariska, dan Pak Zaki, terima kasih. Kita kasih aplaus, tapi jangan berpindah dulu Pak. Kita kasih aplaus sekali lagi.
Terima kasih sekali lagi. Kita akan masuk ke sesi berikutnya. We will now hear the commentary session because as always in the AI forum, we will invite the perspective of the workers and also the managements about our discussion today. Therefore, we would like to call Bapak Kun Wardano Abinyoto, Chairman of the Advisory Board of Aspirasi, and also Bapak Yunus Trionggo, Chairman of the Indonesia Competent Advocates Association, to also come to the front. Silakan Pak, bergabung di sana.
Pak Yunus silakan.
Baik, mungkin we will now invite our first commentator is Bapak Kun Wardano Abinyoto, Chairman of the Advisory Board of the Advisory. Bapak Kun also served as the Dean of the Faculty of Applied Science and Technology at the STN, National Institute of Science and Technology, and he spent 9 years as Director of Information, Communication, and Technology Services at the Uni Global Union Asia and the Pacific. Pak Kun also appointed by the Ministry of Manpower as the member of the National Vocational Training Committee, contributing to strategic initiative for strengthening Indonesia vocational training ecosystem. Bapak Kun, you have 5 minutes to share your views on workplace preparedness and digital for the digital transformation, and also the importance of upholding non-discrimination standards. Please.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Lucy, Bu Simrim, para panelis dan juga para peserta yang saya hormati. Saya ingin menyampaikan perspektif dari sisi pekerja ya. Memang ini sangat miris ya, banyak sekali implementasi AI tanpa suara dari pekerja. Dan kalau kita lihat AI ini ya, tadi juga di panelis-panelis sebelumnya mengatakan bahwa AI akan memberikan efisiensi di tempat kerja. Tapi pertanyaannya, efisiensi untuk siapa? Dan bila ada yang ter-PHK, efisiensinya kemana? Ya. Dan saya ingin menyampaikan ada 3 contoh ya, dan ini bukan science fiction ya, ini sudah terjadi. Sebut saja Ibu Siti ya, Ibu Siti seorang administrator. Dia ya, atau perusahaan tempat dia bekerja itu menggunakan AI chatbot ya. Of course ya, bahwa efisiensinya semakin meningkat, produktivitasnya naik 40%, tetapi pertanyaannya Ibu Siti ter-PHK. Dan permasalahannya ya, Ibu Siti meminta untuk reskilling ya, tadi disampaikan juga pada sebelumnya, perusahaannya menjawab budget terbatas ya. Jadi nggak bisa dilakukan reskilling ya. Itu contoh pertama. Contoh kedua, ya ada teman ojol, ya sebut aja Mas Budi. AI algoritma AI-nya itu memberikan rating awalnya 4.8. Tetapi karena macet di jalan dan lain-lain, ratingnya itu menjadi 4.2. Ya, karena ratingnya turun, maka ordernya turun drastis ya, bahkan sampai 60%. Kemudian Mas Budi mau protes atau mau appeal, nggak bisa karena sudah otomatis Mas nggak bisa ya mau protes dan lain-lain. Kemudian yang ketiga, contoh sebut saja Mbak Ani. Mbak Ani ini dia apply pekerjaan sebagai teknisi. kemudian perusahaan itu menggunakan AI, ya, AI recruitment system. Jadi AI membaca CV-nya. Ya. Pertanyaannya, ya, teknisi-teknisi pola-pola data yang lalu itu rata-rata laki-laki. Ya. Dan AI recruitment system ini menolak Mbak Ani untuk masuk di situ. Padahal dia memiliki kompetensi itu. Permasalahannya adalah algoritma menggunakan pola lama yang bias gender. Ya. Artinya ini bisa membuat masalah, ya. Algoritma ini kalau dia tidak transparan, ya, ini menimbulkan tadi banyak hal, ya. Bahkan ya sekarang tadi ada juga menyampaikan gap partisipasi perempuan dan laki-laki itu 56% berbanding 85%, dan AI ini bisa melebarkan gap itu, ya. Justru itu ini saya melihat ada beberapa solusi, ya. Mungkin solusi yang pertama, ya, satu hal, ya, coba bayangkan CEO menyampaikan bahwa oke, perusahaan akan menerapkan AI dengan prediksi cut cost 30%. Kemudian CFO financialnya mengatakan bahwa oh brilliant, bahwa dengan cut cost ini ROI-nya bisa 6 bulan, ya. CTO-nya bilang, ya, technical officer-nya bilang, oke, kita sudah siapkan vendor. Tetapi di ruangan itu tidak ada perwakilan pekerja, ya. Padahal keputusan itu berimbas kepada pekerja, ya. Jadi cukup miris, ya, bahwa segala sesuatu yang sebetulnya tadi berdampak kepada pekerja tidak melibatkan pekerja, ya. Untuk itu memang di sini perlu adanya melibatkan, ya, mereka, ya. Tujuannya apa? Yang pertama, perlu adanya namanya impact assessment, ya. Sebelum deployment, ya, sebelum ada korban, perlu di-assess dulu bagaimana impact-nya. Apakah dia hanya short term gain, long term pain, gitu, ya, atau bagaimana, ya. Diaudit dulu impact-nya. Kemudian, ya, juga bagi serikat, ya, bisa meminta reskilling sebelum option PHK, ya. Kemudian yang ketiga itu adalah di dalam ber-PKB, ya, kita juga perlu memasukkan klausul-klausul mengenai AI, ya, misalnya transparansi daripada algoritmanya, karena ini menentukan appraisal, ya. Banyak sekali sekarang appraisal dilakukan oleh AI. Kita harus tahu AI ini algoritmanya bagaimana, apakah dia manusiawikah, objektifkah, ya, kita perlu tahu, ya. Nah, ada 3 hal yang saya ingin utamakan di sini. Yang pertama, untuk pemerintah, regulasi, ya. Regulasi itu harus seperti sabuk pengaman, ya. Jadi dipasang, ya, sebelum kecelakaan terjadi, ya. Jadi bukan dipasang setelah kecelakaan. Jadi regulasi harus lebih cepat, ya, sebelum ada kejadian. Nah, maka dari itu misalnya tadi bias testing. Jadi testing bias ini harus mandatory. Kemudian transparansi algoritma harus non-negotiable. Kemudian tripartite consultation, ya, konsultasi pemerintah, pengusaha, dan serikat itu harus always, ya, dilakukan. Kemudian kepada pengusaha, ya, kita mengharapkan, ya, AI investment tanpa people investment itu seperti beli Ferrari, ya, tetapi pelit beli bensin, gitu, ya. Jadi kita, ya, pengusaha diharapkan juga perlu memikirkan reskilling tadi, ya. Tadi juga audit impact tadi, ya. Dan kalau misalnya AI berjalan, ya, profit sharing ini, ya, profit yang didapat dari AI ini bisa untuk just transition fund. Jadi uang untuk just transition, ya. Bagaimana memuluskan tadi reskilling fund tadi dihasilkan dari efisiensi AI tadi, ya. Kemudian untuk pekerja, ya, jangan sampai pekerja itu tidak duduk di meja perundingan tadi, ya. Makanya perlu organize, perlu join serikat pekerja, perlu untuk, ya, bisa sama-sama secara kolektif, ya, challenge the discrimination, ya, demand the transparency, ya. Kita butuh juga penyeimbang ya. Jadi untuk itu karena ini tugas bersama antara pemerintah, pengusaha dan serikat ya, kita mengharapkan AI ini ya bisa bukan hanya melulu kepada produktivitas, efisiensi, tetapi juga kepada martabat pekerja, kepada hati nurani. Nah, kita bukan anti teknologi, tetapi anti teknologi yang anti pekerja. Mungkin demikian dari saya. Terima kasih.
Kita kasih aplaus.
Yes, terima kasih banyak Mas Kun. So I think the point is humanize AI through collective bargaining ya Pak ya. Baik, sekarang we will now call the second commentator, Bapak Yunus Triyonggo, mewakili representing the chairman of Indonesia Component Advocates Association. Pak Yunus is also has a very wide extensive experience in the multinational and also national enterprises, PT Shirat, Nestle, you mentioned all the big companies and Pak Yunus been there. So Pak Yunus, the floor is yours.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Lucy, Mas Anies, Bu Simrin yang saya hormati, dan para panelis yang keren-keren ini, Mbak Gika, Mas Doni, dan Mas Zaki, serta di Mas Kun. Teman-teman semuanya, sembari kita berbicara mengenai AI di sini, di luar sana, setiap minggu, ratusan AI diciptakan. Jadi message-nya adalah, sembari kita melakukan diskursus seperti ini, diskusi seperti ini, jangan lupa, AI itu terus berevolusi dan selalu akan menjadi yang baru. Kita kenal ada dulu assisted AI, ada augmented AI. Sekarang tadi Astra mau menjadi agentic AI. Wow, jadi dari sudut pandang manajemen, nah kita melihat teknologi sebagai tools ya. Tentunya tools ini adalah memudahkan pekerjaan kita. Apakah AI akan menggantikan semua pekerjaan? Tadi udah dijawab. Tidak semua sektor industri pun juga akan dengan easily menerapkan AI. Mungkin ada yang memang sudah saatnya, ada yang memang belum. Ada 3 sektor industri yang selalu akan berubah cepat. Ya. Pertama adalah high technology, yang kedua adalah financial technology, dan yang ketiga adalah telecommunication. Jadi 3 sektor itulah yang sangat cepat berubah. Manufacture bagaimana? Menurut sudut pandang kami dari manajer, manufacture itu in the middle. Di dalam satu diagram, kita punya analisis diagram yang memperlihatkan turbulence diagram, maka manufacturing itu ada di lingkaran yang agak luar tuh. Jadi oleh karena itu ini mengundang understanding kita mengenai AI ini, dan thank you ILO sudah membuka wacana seperti ini, dan ini bisa meningkatkan awareness kita bagaimana kita menggunakan AI secara wise ya di tempat kerja. Jadi kalau saya melihat sebagai human resources practitioner, maka AI is a tools yang bisa kita gunakan untuk memudahkan pekerjaan kita. Makanya para practitioner ini harus segera menguasai AI dan menggunakannya sebagai alat untuk memudahkan pekerjaan kita. Nah, sehingga kita harus naik kelas ya menjadi subject matter expert. Nah, itulah kaitannya dengan tadi udah dibahas pada 3 panelis tadi, bahwa kalau kita menerapkan AI dan kita bisa act sebagai subject matter expert, disitulah letak di mana kita akan mengamankan bahwa penerapan AI kita harus jauhkan dari discriminated treatment kepada siapapun. Kita di rekrutmen, tadi Mas Doni menyatakan ya, pada job seeker yang melamar ke kita, kalau kita menerapkan di machine learning kita itu kriteria yang masih memunculkan usia lah, penampilan dan sebagainya, maka itulah kesalahan kita. Rasanya itu sudah tidak ada lagi seperti itu harusnya di Indonesia. Dan sejak Pak Menteri Hanif Dzakiri waktu itu sudah menerapkan bahwa di setiap advertisement itu dituliskannya adalah certification yang dimiliki. Jadi tidak mempermasalahkan gender, usia, latar belakang, ras, agama, nggak ada lagi. Jadi kalau kita sebagai subject matter expert yang menggunakan AI itu tetap kita punya kepribadian seperti itu, understanding seperti itu, saya yakin di Indonesia para HR practitioner akan menjauhkan penerapan AI ini dari praktek-praktek discrimination. Demikian juga di talent development. Kita juga bisa menerapkan di sana beberapa prompter yang kita taruh di AI kita. Dan seyuknya memang fokus ke kompetensi, ya, bukan fokus ke yang lain. Sehingga AI itu akan bekerja untuk kita mencari talent-talent mana di dalam talent pool kita itu yang cocok dengan yang kita akan develop further. Jadi Itu dari sudut pandang manajemen, dan saya yakin semuanya bahwa AI adalah AI. Dia akan terus berevolusi ya. Tadi dari chartnya tadi kelihatan betapa dia learning curve-nya makin pendek. Jadi kuncinya adalah sebagai penutup dari komentar saya pada hari ini adalah ya sudah, kita ini sebagai penggunanya harus agile, adaptif. Kita harus terus belajar, kita harus punya growth mindset. Terus belajar aja. Jadi itulah yang akan menyelamatkan pada kita semua apapun teknologi yang akan datang di depan kita. Saya rasa itu sebagai komentar terakhir. Terima kasih Mas Anies.
Terima kasih Pak Yunus. Kita kasih aplaus untuk Pak Yunus dan Pak Kun. Mohon tetap ada di depan sini. We would like to invite Bu Simrin and Pak Diego to give the token of appreciation. Please stand up Pak. Silakan berdiri di sini sebelum nanti kita dengarkan penutup dari Pak Diego. Silakan agak ke sini Pak Yunus. Token of appreciation and we will take a picture ya. Ya, Bu Simrin dan Pak Diego.
Kita bisa foto bersama terlebih dahulu bersama panelis. Diego, please stay. Baik, fotografer boleh dipoto bersama. Silakan.
Thank you. Please return to the seat and applause. And Pak Diego, now the floor is yours to give us the closing remark. Please stay with us. Setelah ini nanti kita ada pemutaran film yang merupakan sebuah film mendapatkan nominasi dari Sundays Film Festival, sehingga nanti kita akan nonton bareng-bareng. Are you ready, Pak Diego?
Yes, okay.
Do you mind to stand a bit here? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I will not take too much of your time. I was asking this friend of mine called Google Gemini about how to introduce these conclusions. And Google Gemini suggested the wise person doesn't give the right answers, he poses the right questions. And today we had many, many right questions, starting from the very first one, which was as posed by Ibu Simon. How can AI help to reduce discrimination? Discrimination in using it and discrimination in access to technology. Honorable Minister went a bit along the same lines, asking how can AI help us to close the gap. We know there is a gap and we need to close it. And we need to leave no one behind, and we need to still be globally competitive. And our colleague Powell told us a lot about how AI will affect occupations and jobs differently, and some will be automated, some will be augmented. And then interesting is that who is actually most affected by AI, and it's older workers rather than younger workers, and it's female workers rather than male workers. And interestingly, he said, okay, but what can we do? Where do we go from here? We need to have some red lines. And the red lines he proposed were mostly about preventing abuses. And we can debate what these abuses are, but he made some very clear examples about using AI for non-work related purposes. But even then, as our friend from the unions mentioned at the end, what is work-related purposes and what is not. Then we had some examples from the private sectors. Ibo Mariska said, look, we use AI regularly, but we know that AI is not perfect because the context changes, the people change, and because what is valid at some point in time will not necessarily be valid in the near future. So how do we cope with that? How do we make AI learn it by itself, maybe, or how do we make AI learn to address these challenges? Pak Zaki, ask perhaps some very important questions, maybe the most important. Jokingly, he said, are we coordinating between the ministries? Okay. Having said that, on AI, he asked about safeguards. What are the safeguards we need to set up? Inclusivity, access, and standards are the three I captured. And then also very important question, who do we rule or regulate? The users, the developer, the platforms, who? Not necessarily clear, but he also said we need to answer this with evidence. And Bapak Doni said, look, we know that the data upon which our AI is feeding are biased because our HR structure is biased, male-dominated. So what can we do to prevent and correct and offset this bias? There are some ways which were also asked by the audience, and you elaborated a bit about that. Finally, last but not least, a couple of comments from the audience. What can we do? What can we do for the people who will lose their job thanks to AI? And this is not an AI problem. This is an economic development, a systemic change problem. And what we can do was mentioned, upskilling, reskilling, but the whole set of labor market policies which the ILO continues to help to develop and implement are probably a good starting point. Our colleagues from workers, I don't want to quote because I don't remember exactly the quote, we are not against technology, we are against technology which is against workers, something along those lines sounded in English. But the point was made clear. I mean, there are consequences and tripartite and worker representation in the decisions linked to managerial processes, including the AI ones, is a must. And finally, our colleague from the employers emphasized the possibilities, the positive developments that AI can bring about in terms of productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
The floor.
Ya, Bapak-bapak dan Ibu-ibu, nanti ada acara pemutaran film. Sebelum itu, mohon ditampilkan input untuk evaluasi screen yang berisi tentang evaluation form. Jadi mohon di scan dan kemudian memberikan masukan kepada ILO yang akan punya terus-menerus acara forum seperti ini, dan tentu kita akan terus-menerus juga memperbaiki. Silahkan sudah di scan. Kalau sudah di scan, ya kita kasih waktu dulu ya Bu Lucy, 1 menit mungkin, tolong di scan, berikan masukan kepada ILO ya, supaya kita bisa terus-menerus memperbaiki diri juga ketika mengadakan event-event seperti ini. Cukup? Ya, Bu Lucy silakan.
Ya. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, sekali lagi sebelum kita berpisah, ILO tentu saja juga ingin memberikan kesan, kita akan segera memutar film dokumenter yang berjudul Coded Bias, yang tadi sudah dikatakan oleh Mas Anies, ini disutradarai oleh Salini Kantaya. Salini Kantaya ini adalah American filmmaker dan juga environmental activist based in Brooklyn, New York. Dan film-filmnya banyak mengeksplorasi isu tentang hak asasi manusia dan juga tentang energi yang terbarukan. Film yang akan kita putar pada sore hari ini is Emmy nominated for Outstanding Science and Technology Documentary and Critics' Choice Awards. The film told about the MIT Media Lab researcher that discovers many facial recognition technology do not accurately detect darker skinned faces or classify the faces of women. So we will see the struggle and also the fighting, how we can combat this bias and discriminations. So once again, please enjoy the movie and then see you in the next AI forum. Thank you very much.
Apakah filmnya sudah siap? Oh ya, mohon maaf, sedang ada masalah teknis. Jadi sebelum kita ngomongin AI, mungkin harusnya kita ngomongin teknis dulu ya. Ya.
Kalau nggak Padel.
Mohon bersabar. Terima kasih.
Oh ya Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, mengingatkan yang menggunakan alat penerjemah mungkin bisa mengembalikan atau ditinggalkan saja di kursinya nanti sebelum meninggalkan studio ini.
Masih ada masalah, Bu Dina? Gimana Mbak Dina? Masih ada ini? Bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu, karena ada masalah internet, jadi kita akan menampilkan link videonya. Nanti silahkan nonton masing-masing pakai internet bayar sendiri. Nah, gitu ya. Mas Fadil, tolong tampilkan linknya. Kalau bisa pakai QR code, jadi supaya bisa langsung ditembak begitu dari audiens. Kami mohon maaf sebesar-besarnya karena masalah kendala teknis ini. Sambil kita menunggu sebentar, ya, oh ini dia, oh nggak ada ininya ya, nggak ada barcode-nya, kok barcode-nya, QR code-nya nggak bisa ditampilkan, nggak bisa, oh ya, karena tidak ada, yes, terpaksa ngetik sendiri Pak Karel, tapi ya paling kita tunjukkan lah ya kalau kita beradaptasi dengan internet, ya. Karena masalah bukan hak asasi ya apa, kekayaan intelektual ini hanya bisa diakses dalam 24 jam sejak di-download atau sejak dibuka. Sejak hari ini. Sejak hari ini, jam ini, silakan mengakses, tonton dalam 24 jam. Kalau biasanya nonton drama Korea bertahan berjam-jam, ini cuma 90 menit. Ya. Oke. Bapak dan Ibu-ibu, sekali lagi saya mengucapkan terima kasih kehadirannya telah bertahan sampai jam segini. Mudah-mudahan nanti kita ketemu lagi di acara AI Forum berikutnya. Mas, tampilin dulu Mas. Tadinya, yes, ininya ditampilkan aja, jangan ditutup. Ya, terima kasih. Sampai ketemu lagi di acara berikutnya. Selamat sore.